So when I got fired, I realized they took away a job. They took away a salary. But again, I'm really good at investing. But they did not take away my passion. They did not take away my talent. They did not take away my friends, my network. They took away one job. I think honesty definitely, as they say, is the best policy. Just be honest. You need honest people around you. I don't have time to be a hypocrite. If I don't like you, I'm not going to talk to you, because I don't want her to say, well, you don't really care, you don't respect her, so why are you around her? I don't want anybody to think I'm a hypocrite. I believe in being honest. I believe in being to the point. Yes, sometimes I'm very blunt. I mean, the first thing that you guys should all be doing is saving as much money as you can. I know some of you women love pedicures, manicures, massages, whatever. Have someone else do it, a friend do it, okay? I mean, I do my own manicures, by the way. I don't do much. But, don't spend beyond your means. Because when they fired me, I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about my bills. I mean, I drive a Volkswagen. I don't have a Mercedes or a BMW, whatever. So save your money now. Have at least enough money so if you hate the job, I'm walking.
Aquí escuchamos, aprendemos y crecemos juntas. Bienvenida a Rollos de Mujeres.
Welcome to another Rollos de Mujeres podcast episode. My name is Ana Cruz, and I am very happy recording this live episode. People are confused. We call it live because we have live audience. Where is my audience?
Oh, that's good.
And everybody can enjoy it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. Please make sure you subscribe, you share the episode, leave your comment, and follow us on social media. You can find us everywhere as @Rollos de Mujeres. And I can spell it for you in the description. Don't worry. I know I'm very, very Latina, and I like to roll my R's. So it's Rollos de Mujeres. But today I'm very happy because here with me is a woman I admire. Being a journalist is not easy. Being a woman is not easy. Being a Latina is not easy in this country. And having the three together can be tough. But this woman is making history. Today with us is Rebecca Aguilar. Listen to this. She's 7 times Emmy Award-winning reporter, 40 years in journalism, 28 years in TV news, 50 awards and nominations in journalism. In 2007, Rebecca was named the National Association of Hispanic Journalists Broadcast Journalist of the Year. In 2019, she received the SPJ National President's Award, and I had the pleasure to be there in 2022. She was inducted into the National Association of Hispanic Journalists Hall of Fame, and many other recognitions. So today is with us Rebecca Aguilar. Welcome to Rollos de Mujeres.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for your audience. Wow, a live audience.
Woo!
Like a late night show.
Yes, we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff, Rebecca. Get ready. But first, everybody knows Rebecca being a successful journalist, also being a rebel. I could describe you like that. Right. But we want to know more about Rebecca. Where did you came from? About your childhood. Tell us a little bit, because you have a very interesting story. Where are your parents originally from, and how did they came to the U.S., Rebecca?
So my parents fell in love in the late 1950s. They came from Mexico, undocumented workers, by the way. Undocumented workers who came in through South Texas, ended up in Ohio. It's a long story. Love is love. But they came here because of love, but they also came here for a better life. And so what happened is they end up in Ohio, which I could write a book about that. I probably will one day. Maybe it'll turn into a movie. You never know. But they go and end up in Ohio. And my father already knew some English because he came from middle-class family in Mexico. My mother was from El Rancho. There was a little bit of chaos there because, my mother was from the other side of the tracks. That's a long story. But they end up in Ohio. My father eventually becomes a union leader for General Motors. He helped get women and African Americans into General Motors because for some reason they thought women couldn't put a screw in a motor. Crazy. My mother picked tomatoes. She took the family. Todos piscábamos tomates. We all picked tomatoes. Michigan, Ohio. And then my mother decides, you know what? I'm going to become a migrant rights activist. We need water. We need a porta potty. We need everything. She was like a rebel. By the way, my mother's name is Rebecca. And both of them together, it's in the 60s now, 70s, right? Civil rights. We lived in Toledo near Detroit, so they're fighting for rights. And we had a front seat as kids to reality. I realized that my parents, my mother had a third grade education, my father had high school education, ended up getting his bachelor's and other education. But if my parents could not be stopped as immigrants and accomplish what they wanted, how could I be stopped? I mean, I have a bachelor's, you know, I have education, I speak both languages. And so, you know, when you grow up with parents who think they can do anything, and they could, and you're on the front seat watching them. I mean, you know, weekends at the Aguilar house was not going to the mall. Weekends was, you know, we got to go to a protest. We have to march in a rally. We have to stand in front of Campbell's Soup and say, you're putting too many pesticides, or we're going to, you know, be there with the people who walked out of General Motors because they're not getting paid enough. When you watch your parents do that, you know, when you grow up, you have that bug. I got to help other people. So in a nutshell, that's how it happened. Aside from that, they owned businesses. They had a ballroom called a Rancho Ballroom in Toledo, where you know, they brought in people like Little Joe. I met Little Joe and his group when I was a kid, Sonny and the Sunlighters. You name it, I met them. And so they gave me a front seat to reality. And I will always be appreciative of that, because I always think my father passed away when he was 48 and didn't see the success. My mother is 93 today, okay? And she's still strong as a horse. But I would not be me if it wasn't for my parents. And were they perfect parents? Hell no. But they did the best they could. And look at me, I'm a success. Yeah. Sorry, I cry.
No, you are, and
true.
thank you. Thank you for...
I need a tissue, by the way. I need a tissue. So if anybody has a tissue, that'd be nice.
Thank you for sharing those moments, because...
I think we have to be honest.
Yes.
You know?
And there is a lot of people right now out there that may be going through difficult times. Or maybe they are thinking that their situation is hard. What they don't know is that life is preparing them for what's coming. And you had a great example of your parents. But when was the moment where you decided to step up and say, okay, everything I learned from them, it's time for me to put that to work?
I think my father, again, put yourself out there. My father knew English because, you know, again, he was a union leader. But he started early, like, hey, Ohio, we don't have any Spanish language radio. So he literally went to a radio station in Ohio, in Fostoria, Ohio, knocked on the door, said, hey, I'd like to buy an hour or two. Can I buy an hour or two? And they're like, yeah, okay, you can be on Saturday mornings. And so he had a show in Spanish, and he would take me with him to, I mean, tienes que traducir esto. And I'm like, the newspaper. I'm like, okay, I try my best. I mean, as well as I could in Spanish.
How old were you when that was happening?
Geez, 8.
Wow.
9 years old. It was the only time I could spend with my dad, because he was always working, always fighting for this person or that person. So he was never around. So the best thing is, if he can't be at home, I might as well join him. And so he started a show called Fiesta Latina, 2 hours. It basically cost him $50. He bought the hours. And he would play music. So he was phenomenally, I mean, he was smart. He used it to promote his businesses. He used it to say, okay, we're going to protest in front of Campbell's Soups. He brought out people. He used it to play music from, you know, all these Tex-Mex people, right? Is that for me? Yes, please. He used the media to empower people. And so I saw that and I thought, wow, a microphone has the power, right? This has power. That camera has power. Our voices are power. The only thing that can stop us is us. And so I remember watching TV, and my dad would go, ¿Dónde están los mexicanos? You know, and it's no one's on TV. They're either black or white. And that's when I thought, Wow, that looks good. That looks good. I remember being in my first college class, haven't decided what major I'm going to do. This guy shows up from Channel 11 in Toledo, and he says, basically, I love my job. Every day I do something different. I don't do the same thing. My father works in a factory, same people around him, same atmosphere, blah, blah, blah. But every day I do something different. And I thought, that's what I want. That's what I want. Couple that with helping people, sure.
And you were very dedicated. You were very clear on what you wanted. You kept working really, really hard. Mm-hmm. You got the opportunities. When do you think was your highest moment in media that you were like, I'm proud of you, Rebecca?
Two things. Yeah, I have all these Emmys. I think I've been nominated for like 25, only won 7. But there's a few times. One, when I've been able through my stories to shut down corrupt school systems, put people in jail because they cheated other people, shut down foster placement centers because children have been killed. So that's a big one for me where I can help in that area. The second one was when I was fired from Fox 4 in 2008. That was great because remember this, if you ever get fired, remember this, fired means freedom. Fired means freedom to do something else. Freedom to be away from toxic people. Freedom just to really, in a sense, evolve. Mm-hmm. And so when I got fired in 2008, sure, I cried a few. And then I realized, because at the time I was making $130,000 a year. Imagine that. My salary's out the door. But another thing you do is never go into debt, because little did they know, I don't go to the, Gucci to buy shoes. Yeah, at the time I went to Payless, which went out of business, by the way. I'm just, I drive a Volkswagen. I don't need to drive a Mercedes. I eat frijoles y arroz. I don't need to buy a steak. So when I got fired, I realized they took away a job. They took away a salary. But again, I'm really good at investing. But they did not take away my passion. They did not take away my talent. They did not take away my friends, my network. They took away one job. So I realized, okay, you know what? I'm going to talk about being fired. By the way, I did sue them and I lost, but that's okay too. It's part of my story. Because I didn't sue Fox 4 for the money. I sued them so they never screw with another Latina again, to show them. And another thing too, they had offered me money, lots of money, to walk away from the lawsuit. But what I did is I said, no, I don't want that money, because that's hush money. That's blood money. I want to be able to tell, like I'm telling you right now, my story without them silencing me. So I think that was another part in my life where I really realized, not only have I made it, but look at me now. I'm just as strong of a journalist than I was back in 2008 when Fox 4 thought they were going to ruin my career, but they didn't.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you shared that story, because I feel like...
But that's the thing, never be ashamed. There's so many people out there that get fired,
Yes.
They get laid off. Ay, no puedo decir.
I was one of them, Rebecca.
Ay, no, mira, dicen que no debes de decir que te echaron. No. Why not? It's okay. I'm not embarrassed.
But because of people like you are sharing your story, when I was on your same situation 8 years ago and I got fired from the only company in media I knew here in the US, when I was a single mom, because they work with your brain, they put ideas on your brain, making you think that you are not going to make it anywhere else.
But you allow those ideas.
Yes. But if you don't see stories like yours, where are you going to get those tools that you need, or that inspiration? I didn't even know that there is a place where you can go and sue when you are fired for no reasons. I didn't know that, Rebecca. And you talk a lot about mentorship. And I didn't know anyone like you. And I was the one crying and sad because I got fired. And you are right. 8 years later, I'm like, thank you for doing that.
This. You got your podcast.
But I bet right now a lot of people that are listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube, they're going through that situation, or they may go through that same situation. How do you prepare for that? How do you prepare for what's coming? And how do you fight for what's right for you?
Wow, that's a big question. I just think you have to have passion, ganas, right? And you have to be fearless. As I said previously, earlier today, you have to be fearless. No pueden tener miedo. You cannot have any fear at all. Because and that's something that especially women put this in their head. Oh, I'm not going to say I'm fired. I'm not going to say my age. I'm not going to do this. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not this enough. You got to stop. And I think you really have to sit down and talk to yourself. But a mentor is so important to have a mentor, because a mentor will help you. Like, I have a really good friend. I have a few good friends that have been fired. And it's been years. And they still cannot say the F word, fired. And I'm like, just say it. It's okay. I mean, it's like women who say, I'm divorced. There's some people who can't say it. I would say it. I'm not divorced, by the way. Love my husband. But what I'm saying is, it takes baby steps, but you have to believe in you. Because you never want to wake up one day and go, God, why did I let her to get in my head? Why did I let those? Can you imagine if I let Fox 4 get in my head? I wouldn't be here. But I'm here because I'm sure somebody will see your podcast and go, God, look at her. She's dogging Fox 4. But it's okay. I literally, you guys, this is the truth. In 2022, I became the president of the Society of Professional Journalists, okay? Look them up, SPJ. It had 5,000 members. We're talking members, radio, television, all black, white, gay, you name it, 5,000. I became the first Latina and woman of color in 112 years to become the president. By the way, there were some people who didn't want me to become president, but, I took care of those people. But I tell you this because imagine if I would have let Fox 4 get in my head. Oh, no. Because they said, oh, yeah, we got rid of her because her work was going downhill. 50 awards and nominations, work going downhill. Interesting. Oh, her stories are not that good. Really? Huh? How come they changed laws? I mean, there was so much, but what I say is, you let them get in your head. But what you need to say is, you didn't even mention your company. That's nice. I say the company because, you know what? They try to shame me. It doesn't
exist anymore. Oh, well, okay. They changed names.
You see? But look at you now.
See.
And so I think you just have to believe in yourself. And you may say, oh, well, my parents aren't, I'm not like you. Well, then try. I mean, if you don't throw yourself out there, I know when I die, I've done it all. I did it my way. I didn't shut up for anybody. And yeah, I lost my $130,000 job at Fox 4. ¿Y qué? If I had to eat frijoles, arroz, and tortillas for the rest of my life with a little chorizo thrown in, I'd be good.
And I see so much joy on you, and I love that, Rebecca, because anyone can, become a victim of their own situation, whatever it
The victim of their own head.
Yes, yeah. Yes, but I love that you didn't stop. You have been a very powerful and influential people in the industry. And I have to ask you this because you told me we're going to be very honest, and you are a very honest person. How do you do to manage your personality, your energy? Because in this industry, people don't like to hear truth. People like to say, oh, you are doing a great job, or you are an amazing person, or you are this and this. And you are the most honest person I know. And if you don't like something, you are going to say it. But you always back up your thoughts with facts, with research. Being a journalist help you a lot. But how do you stand with your beliefs and your values in a world where everybody wants to please everybody?
I think with me, it's been experience, you guys. Understand, at the end of the month, I'm going to be 66 years old. It's experience. I've learned from the good, the bad, and the ugly, meaning people. And I believe in being honest. I do not, there's so many women who are like, ay, mira, me gusta su vestido. Oh, qué feos. They have that. And it's like, why are you being a hypocrite? If you don't like her dress, tell her. If you're good friends, tell her, look, that dress doesn't look good on you. Wear something else, right? I think honesty definitely, as they say, is the best policy. Just be honest. You need honest people around you. I don't have time to be a hypocrite. If I don't like you, I'm not going to talk to you, because I don't want her to say, well, you don't really care. You don't respect her. So why are you around her? I don't want anybody to think I'm a hypocrite. I believe in being honest. I believe in being to the point. Yes, sometimes I'm very blunt. And I always tell people, if I'm your mentor, I'm going to be blunt. Like the other day, someone called me and said, can you look at my LinkedIn? I said, yeah, sure. And I said, okay, I'm just going to be straight out. She said, I go, it's boring. The whole thing is boring. You know, you're talking at me, not to me. I need in your about section to talk to me in a story. Like you and I are chatting over coffee at Starbucks. And don't talk to me in third person, talk to me in first person. You know, this is your page. So honesty, how do I balance my energy? I mean, you know, I don't know. I just live. Honestly, I just live and enjoy life. And I stay away from people who are negative. Mm-hmm. I stay away from people who are haters. Stay away from people who say you can't do it. Because, you know, and I also believe that you have to decide in your life. Are you a leader or are you a follower? It's okay to be a follower. But you know what? Don't bitch when that leader has accomplished more than you did. Mm-hmm. Don't bitch about that. You decided. I know from the start, I'm a leader. My son is a leader. My husband's a leader. Most of the women I hang out with are leaders. Sure, there's a few followers, but if you're going to follow somebody that can hopefully one day encourage you to just take the plunge, become a leader yourself. Does that make sense? To your live audience?
Yes. ¿Están aquí? Sí, ¿verdad?
¿Se están durmiendo?
No, they are paying attention. Rebecca, I'm going to take this opportunity with these microphones to talk about things that almost anyone wants to talk about.
Oh, really?
Coming from journalism, I promise my audience that I'm always going to be honest with them. Whenever
a journalist should be honest, so yes. I don't think you need to tell them.
Whenever we're going through a good time or a bad time, and I love talking about salaries, I love talking about the reality in media, because there are new generations coming this way, and I wish they don't have to go through what I went through. So if you allow me, let's talk about salaries. Mm-hmm. When I was in media, people respect me, people recognize me, people wanted to be around me. When they fired me, I lost more than half of people. Okay. But the best stayed with me. Right. But also people thought that I was making a lot of money. My reality was that I wasn't making enough to even pay my rent.
Like, what are we talking about here?
I'm going to throw numbers. I started working for a radio station making $18,000 per year.
In
18,000, yes. For market in the country. I was in the morning show. The show won...
only Spanish language?
Spanish language.
Okay.
But the show won the best... the station won the best Spanish radio station in the country. We got a Marconi. And I was making $80,000 per year.
Did you have previous experience before
I had no previous experience here in the U.S. I work in media in Mexico, in Celaya and in Televisa in La Ciudad de Mexico. I had no previous experience, but also I was a good person, Rebecca. I grew up thinking that everybody would be a good person, that people were honest, and no one will take advantage of me. That's why I got divorced the first time, but that's another story because they took advantage of me too. But anyways... now I feel free to share these numbers, these stories, because no one was there to tell me they are taking advantage of you, you should be making more. And they were putting fits on me to don't bright, don't shine, and don't go further. I felt alone, Rebecca. Where were you at the moment? Well, that was my question. No,
yeah.
But let's talk about the real numbers from media, or people know what they deserve.
I totally feel, and I've made it very vocal, that people in Spanish language media are often ripped off. Look, I knew people when I started in English. You know, I did English language, even though I speak Spanish. And by the time I got to Dallas, by the way, my first job at Fox 4 started me at $90,000. Okay, but why? You just said you didn't have any experience. So you need to, in a sense, in the business, you have to pay your dues, but not at $18,000. I mean, I at least to give you 40 grand, 50 grand, right? Mm-hmm. But, you know, for me, I had come from, you know, I had been in Toledo, Chicago, Corpus Christi, San Antonio, Phoenix, Los Angeles. Then I came here. So they started me at 90. But then I said, I speak Spanish. So, you know, you can negotiate another 15, 20,000, okay? But I think that came with, the 90 was with the Spanish, speaking Spanish, right? The problem with Spanish language media is they don't look at you speaking English as an asset. Where you could be bilingual, for everybody, whatever you're talking about, whatever product you can say, and by the way, los que no hablan español, make sure you buy this product. Bilingual, because we mostly all have bilingual households, right? That's the problem, especially television. I mean, I know at Telemundo, there are reporters right here in our city, Telemundo, reporters at Telemundo who are making at least 20 to 30,000 less than the reporters at English language, right across their desk. And you know what? And I've had arguments with managers from Univision and Telemundo. What the hell are you doing to your own people? But what happens is they get people who don't have experience. They bring in people, and people sometimes, I'm not saying you, they go, oh, I'm on TV, I'm on the radio, I'm happy, 18,000, 20,000. So that's what happens. The real numbers, like I said, by the time I got fired in 2008, I was making $130,000. I think I had 4 weeks vacation. It was good,
You knew how to fight for what was right, but also...
But you do your research, you what I would do is, what do you bring to the table? That's what I tell people. Like, when I negotiated contracts at Fox 4, I remember my last contract I negotiated. I've had agents, but I had negotiated. I was like, okay, here's 125 stories that I broke. And I beat Telemundo and Univision too. Okay? I beat them. They had to follow me. And I listed them all. Now tell me, what other reporter has given you a list like this? So they're like, oh shit, of course we need her. I mean, come on. I knew the courts, I knew the cops. But you have to be valuable. Just looking pretty and being able to talk on the radio is not good enough. You really have to be, and the beauty that you have, and I don't know what you were like when you started, but you have that go-to attitude. I mean, I know podcasting, this is not easy because there's a gazillion podcasters out there. That's why I don't have a podcast. Just too many competition. A lot of work. I mean, people think, oh, how easy, a few lights. No, you got people behind the scenes. Thank you, God, that you have them, right? But here's the thing. Someone like you, you're really good at putting all this together, but it's shocking that people like you don't fight for what you deserve. I mean, look at you. You're an organizer. You're a podcaster. You bring up topics. You're a great interviewer. It all starts here. All they can do is say no. If you don't ask for it, and if they were paying you $18,000, okay, get your experience. Yeah, my boy, I'm going to start my own podcast and tell everybody come over here. Because now we have social media. Understand, when I started in the business 40 years ago, we didn't have social media. It was like knocking on a rock and sending it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how
you think then we have to be ready to do it all.
You got to be ready to walk away.
And to fight doing it all.
This is what I love. Let me tell you something. This is what I love about young people. My son, and I hope he doesn't mind that I'm telling this story. My son had a job, his first job. I didn't ever help my son get a job, by the way. My son, his name is Alex Aguilar Bus. When he went to get his professional job, he says, Mom, I love you. Te quiero mucho. But I'm going to go by Alex Bus because there's some people that love you and then there's some people who don't. But I also don't want people to think Mommy got me the job. So I said, okay, so if you see him professionally, look him up. He's on social media, Alex Bus. And one time he tells me he was up for a job at Channel 11, straight out of college, in his internship. I mean, he's such a good writer that they offered him a job right away. Again, they don't know I'm his mother because I know a lot of people at that channel. But what happened is this, there's a job opening for a producer for a show. And they let him fill in. And he says to me, Mom, I'm going to tell them I want this job. I go, Alex, this is your first job. Don't be so greedy. Take your time. Don't worry. He goes, and you know what? I'm going to ask for a raise. Alex, calm down. I swear to God. He goes, Mom, I knew this job. I've been filling in. I know what they're doing. They love me. Alex, be patient. And he goes, okay. I swear to God, either within the hour or 2 hours calls me, hey, remember you told me not to go ask for it? I did. They gave me the job and they gave me the salary I want. And he taught me a lesson. And by the way, he was only 25 at the time.
Wow.
And making, and just had a good job. But he also said, Mom, you're a perfect example. Look what you did for 14 years for Fox 4, and look what they did to you at the end. I'm never going to let that happen to me. If they don't want me, I will walk. And he has.
And that's what we need. We need these stories. That's why I like to
But what
talk
I'm
about
saying is
salaries.
young people know
Yeah.
that they're not going to be taken advantage of. But you also need to know if you have the goods, and I'm not saying this to brag about my son, but he really has news judgment because he grew up in a newsroom. I'd always take him with me, or my husband's a director, you know, the guy that says, take camera 1, take camera 2. And so he grew up in this. But what I love about young people is, you know, they're unafraid. You know what? You don't want to pay me? Yeah, my boy. Bye-bye. Go. Yeah. And that's why certain TV stations, radio stations, podcasters, they can't keep people because they're braver than some of us were.
And that doesn't mean that we that are older, a little older, don't need to evolve. If we see that that's the new trend or that's the new lifestyle, we should jump into the train too, because that's why a lot of us that are older generations are staying behind.
Yeah, I mean, older generation, you know, that's another thing I run into. Women who don't want to give their age. I just told you I'm going to be 66 at the end of the month. Do you think it's ever stopped me from getting a job? Ay, mira que viejita. Now, no one. Because they know I'm good at what I do. I look good for my age. Thank you. Tell them you're at a podcast. You know, I mean, I'm confident. I mean, people are like, they don't even put the year they graduated from college on LinkedIn. And I've told a friend of mine who's literally, I mean, I go, you know, hey, I mean, why aren't you putting that, you know, you graduated from USC at this year? Well, you know, I was told not to because they can tell your age. Oh, come on. They're going to do the math. Look at everywhere you've been. I mean, ageism, I'm sorry, men in here, you guys created ageism. But us women, we enable it. Stop that. Be proud to say, I turned 66 at the end of the month. You better say happy birthday to me, by the way. But say proud. You know, stop with the filters on your pictures. You're not 20, you're not 30. Obviously, I'm not 40, I'm not in my 50s. Be proud of who you are. Because the minute you start editing you, right, your look, what you say, editing your age, then you're not being real. Then you're being someone you want people to think you are. I am who I am.
Yes. But let's go back to you having your freedom. If you're working for a company, this is not possible at all. You're going to get fired. That, like you say, maybe that's the best thing that can happen to you. But you knew that having your freedom was more important than having a salary. But we got to pay bills. And I know we have amazing husbands, but we got to make money. And I love that you reinvented yourself.
I evolved. I didn't reinvent. Reinvent means I kind of scrapped out the old and brought in. No, I just kind of added to my resume. Yeah.
And how did you start your own business? Because you wanted to keep working on the field, but on your own terms. How did the idea came to action? And what's the best advice you can tell people right now that they may just got fired or they want to start their own business?
I mean, the first thing that you guys should all be doing is saving as much money as you can. I know some of you women love pedicures, manicures, massages, whatever. Have someone else do it, a friend do it, okay? I mean, you know, I do my own manicures. By the way, I don't do much. But, you know, I mean, don't spend beyond your means. Because when they fired me, I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about my bills. I mean, you know, I drive a Volkswagen. I don't have a Mercedes or a BMW, whatever. So save your money now. Have at least enough money so if you hate the job, I'm walking. All right? Also, if you have a talent, you know, think about, you know, being a freelancer, whatever you are. You want to teach on the side? Do you want to be a consultant? Many of you can be consultants. Do it. What I did is the minute they suspended me, by the way, Fox 4 suspended me first. So they're still kind of paying me. But once they fired me, I called some lawyers. You know, I called some lawyers and I said, hey, do you need anybody to, you know, I especially called lawyers that do, you know, accidents, personal injury. And I was like, hey, do you need anybody to interview your witnesses? Like, yeah. So I would go, okay, so how much do you make an hour? And they're like, 600. Okay, I'll charge you $125. All I need is a camera. And I mean, do you want video? Because if it's video, it's going to be like $175. And they're like, okay. So I would go interview people for these lawyers. Obviously, I can never use them in a story again because it would be a conflict of interest. But I knew certain lawyers that had big cases. And I'm like, okay. And you know, imagine having to interview a mother or someone like that. I mean, I'm a natural. So I made money like that. But in the meantime, to become a freelance reporter, I had to start getting my name out there. You know, I'm at every panel, every conference that has to do with my profession. I mean, I literally wrote a story for a community paper. And also, get your ego out of your head. I just told you I made $130,000, right? And I remember calling a community paper. I didn't have any print pieces. I only had video. Didn't have any print, newspaper, magazine. Didn't. So I thought, let me call the community paper, some community papers. And I remember this one community paper, they're like, oh, you know, we only pay like $40, you know, a story. And I was like, I don't care. I'll do it for free. I just need it. I need the print. I need it to be in the front page, whatever. Okay. And, you know, I had enough clips, as they call in print, to show USA Today or anybody else. And that's how I started freelance. Obviously, I remember, here's a good one. When you see an opportunity, make your own opportunity. I saw a show on channel Quien Sabe Que, and there were former reporters talking about topics. It was called the Texas Daily. So it's like me and you and two other reporters, former reporters, and the topic is Venezuelans coming from the other country. Okay, well, let's all talk. We had our opinions. And I remember it was 4 people, 3 white people, 1 black person. I'm watching this show, and I'm thinking, they're talking about immigration and there's no Latinos? What the hell is going on? So I called the general manager of the station. And I got through to him because, you know, he knew me, I guess. And I said, hi, I just saw that you guys are talking about immigration, but there's no Latinos. And they're all journalists, former or current. And he's like, well, do you want to be part of us? And I said, yeah. He goes, Halloween Day, come on in. That's it. And I was on the show.
So you planted your own seeds?
Of course.
You made your own opportunities?
I made the opportunities.
You put your ego to the side because after being in a station like Fox, which is huge in the U.S., you were humble enough to start
It's not even about being humble. A journalist is a journalist. It's like a chef. A chef can cook at McDonald's and they can cook at a 5-star restaurant, right? I'm a journalist. If you want me to work for a community paper or Fox 4 or Channel 5 or CNN, my job is the same. You know, it's not about being humble. It's about knowing your job and keeping your ego that, okay, today it's the White Rock Lake Weekly. Tomorrow it could be CNN. It's the ego that plays with your head. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I love that you mentioned that because you're a big advocate of being a truly journalist. We talked about this in the past, in how there is a misconception, misperception, and misunderstanding of what a real journalist is. Now in this digital media, social media world, I think the news are losing objectivity, are losing the real truth behind it, because journalists don't know their places. As a woman with this many years of experience in journalism, what would you tell the newest generation of journalists?
I think they need to know their focus. Do you want to be an influencer? Go do that. I'm not an influencer. I'm insulted when people go, are you an influencer? No. I don't dance on TikTok. I don't cook on TikTok. I'm a journalist. If my stories inspire you, great, but I'm not an influencer. I have a lot of respect for influencers, whomever they are. I mean, from Kylie Jenner to, you know, the local people who, you know, just get on there and put on their makeup. Good for you. But I'm a journalist. And so what I tell a lot of people, they think that if they get into television news, radio, podcasting, they think they're going to become famous. Very few become famous. I mean, not everybody's Jorge Ramos or Anderson Cooper. But that doesn't mean we don't matter. And so I always tell people, okay, why? Why do you want to be a journalist? And like, well, you know, I like being on TV. Oh my gosh, that's not the point. The point is you're going to tell somebody's story. That's why you're important. So I always tell those people, you know what? You may want to go into social media. Social media helps tell our stories, but it also, I think, shows people that there's social media people that I think are wannabe journalists. And sometimes I'll reach out to him and say, hey, you should really think about taking a class in journalism because I think you need to tweak yourself, but you do good stuff. I see some people that have potential. But I think you really have to decide, why do you want to be a journalist? Or do you? Or do you just want to be a famous TikTok person? Mm-hmm. You know? I think that's it. But I think there's a lot of good journalism out there. You just have to find it. And I think there's many of us that are fighting for my profession.
Do you feel like they are forced or they feel forced to...
Who's they?
Journalists, like real journalists right now. Because I have some friends that are in news still, and they feel pressure for social media. They feel like they have to be there. They feel like they have to create a character on social media too.
No. Yeah, I mean, I think that we have to have, report a story, but I do use social media to let people know. Like the other day, I swear, I did something, I just took a soundbite off CNN of, I don't know what it was. I don't know what, because I've only had TikTok a few months. And I literally have like 250,000 views on it. And all it was a little segment of someone saying something. And I thought, wow, they just, and on my profile, I do say reporter, will delete haters and, something like, I only tell the truth. And I tell people I'm a reporter on my social media. But I think that, I don't think we're pressured, but I think social media is important for us to let you know the stories we're doing, to let you know that I love doing stories on, I don't love it, but my stories are about crime, about animal abuse, about things that affect women, immigration, those kind of stories. Social media is important. Mm-hmm. I think the people who feel pressured are the ones that are trying to get a bunch of followers. I don't think in followers. I think in information. And if somebody likes it, great. And if they don't, well, move on.
But you're very influential. You have a lot of people following you. And I love that you are very often sharing about job opportunities. You have a very unique way to engage with your audience. I feel like people don't go to your pages just to read a note. They go to find help, inspiration, and tools. Tell us about your groups that you have.
So in 2009, I started Wise Latinas Linked on Facebook. And I think if you didn't hear me earlier today, in 1 month, I think I had 1,000 people. USA Today called me and said, we want to profile your group. It's the fastest growing group in 2009 on Facebook. I said, okay. Once USA Today did the story, it grew to 5,000. And today we have close to 9,000. In 2017, and we're also on LinkedIn, and we have a Twitter handle, blah, blah, blah. And then in 2017, I started Latinas in Journalism because there's not enough of us in journalism around the country. And I thought, what better place to be where we help each other as journalists, where she can share her podcast and we all share it everywhere, where we can find mentors, that kind of thing. And so I started that in 2017. And again, we have the handles on Instagram or whatever, but the groups are on Facebook. And then in February of 2023, I realized that all these people were losing their jobs. Politico, BuzzFeed went under, Sports Illustrated, Rolling Stone, Spanish language, Telemundo laid off a bunch of people. And I was thinking, gosh, I have such a big network. One of the key things for everybody is create your own opportunities. Create your own opportunities. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to start an initiative. And I call it hashtag calling all journalists. So if you ever pull the hashtag calling all journalists hashtag, especially on Twitter X or Facebook, anything that has to do with a journalist comes up. And then I asked people that follow me on all my social media in journalists, give me one job opening. Just give me one. My first one in February 2023 had more than 100. And suddenly, I wake up one day on LinkedIn and I have 100 people who want to link into me. And we're talking recruiters. We're talking vice presidents. We're talking general managers. We're not just talking journalists. We're talking powerful people who want to be connected to me. And I thought, wow. And that one alone has more than 500,000 hits. That newsletter/blog. So since then, in fact, I'm still compiling my list for April. But, for last, 1 week in last month in March, I had 50,000 impressions just on LinkedIn. That means 50,000 people saw something I wrote that was either shared, that had to do with my newsletter, hashtag calling all journalists initiative. So what I'm saying to you is you can all create your own opportunities. And just, I mean, these people that I didn't even know, men, women, leaders, managers, presidents, vice presidents, suddenly like, who's Rebecca Aguilar? And that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I want to end with this question, Rebecca.
Okay.
You are one of the best ones on getting the best of a story, writing a story, being objective. So if you one day get to write a story about Rebecca Aguilar, what would you say about Rebecca Aguilar?
Wow, that is a great question. I've never been asked that. If I had to describe it, it would be Rebecca Aguilar knew her career, her life, that the world was her office. Every day was different. Every day she educated, inspired the community. Every day she showed people who have a voice but were ignored that they would no longer be ignored. And that throughout her career, she helped lift people up, not only journalists, but women and people of color. And as a daughter of undocumented immigrants, she showed people that you can accomplish anything, no matter who tries to stop you, no matter who doesn't like you, no matter who doesn't believe in you. She believed in herself, and that's why she's a success.
And what do you think your dad will be feeling if he's reading that story?
My father would be so proud. His birthday is April 27th. And sometimes I think, gosh, I wish he would have seen it all. But I believe in God. So I just think that, he probably sees me. I know my mother's very proud of me. My brothers and sisters are very proud of me. And so, yeah. And that's another thing too, like I said, my parents weren't the perfect parents, but man, they created me. Gracias a Dios.
Sí, and you're doing an amazing job.
And you made me cry again. Thank you. Thank you. You're terrible. You made me cry.
And I want to thank you for sharing your authenticity.
And your live audience. Wow.
For being so authentic, for never giving up.
Never.
For keep setting an example, for keeping inspiring us, women, Latinas, and journalists. And thank you for always being so open, Rebecca.
And thank you for your podcast.
Anyone have that skill.
Yeah, they have the skills. They're just afraid to say anything. I guess another thing too, as I will end this, is, you know what? Stop caring what other people think. If you like me, great. If you don't, I really don't care.
You are happy, and that's what matters, right?
I'm happy.
Thank you so much for being in Rollos de Mujeres podcast. Thank you to those watching us on YouTube or listening to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. Remember to subscribe to our channels. I gotta promote it, Rebecca. We gotta make money. I gotta pay my bills, okay?
That's okay.
And share the episodes. We want to keep inspiring women, and we want to keep occupying women, giving them tools, stories that can help you to become a better professional and also a better person. And I just want to leave giving you, I know it's very cheesy, but it's my Rollos de Mujeres merchandise. And as women, we always try to please everybody. That's something in our culture. We want to please everybody around us. We care so much about what other people think about us, but not many times, not many women look at the mirror in the mornings, look at themselves and analyze what they are thinking about themselves or how happy they are, right? So these lines or these phrases are made for that. So every time you look at the mirror, if you wear this shirt or when you're going to the gym or whatever you like to do.
We go to the gym. No, I do. I swim every day for an hour.
Yes. So I just want to let you know that you are writing a great story.
Thank you.
And that is your own story, Rebecca.
Thank you so much. Escribiendo mi historia. Gracias.
Sí, gracias. See you next Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here to our live audience.
Live audience.
And those watching us on YouTube, thank you so much. Don't miss the next episode next Tuesday. My name is Ana Cruz, your host. We love you guys.